So, welcome everyone to the Algorand Foundation Community Call. My name is Joanna. I'm the Community Lead for Europe for the Algorand Foundation. Today we'll be talking about the Algorand governance proposal, the Governance Referendum, and the Pilot Node Runner programme. The reason why we've called this session is we've had many announcements over the last few days, which include grant partnerships with CurveGrid or ACON, our pilot programme that was aforementioned for the node runners, announcement of the Algorand Governance Referendum, and most recently, the launch of our 2 million Algorand Trailblazer Bounty programme. So we wanted to address a couple of questions that you, the community, have asked us. Today, just to give you an idea of the runtime, I expect this session to last around 40 to 50 minutes. Massimo, who will be talking about community governance and rewards. Shai will be speaking about governance referendum and the Relay Node programme, and Jason will provide an overview of timeline with respect to the topics discussed today. There'll be a Q&A session of lasting about 20 to 25 minutes. And should you, the audience, want to ask any questions, you can use the questions tab that you can see on the right. Any questions that we'll be answering today, we'll be updating these in the Algo section on the Algorand Foundation website after the call. So just a little bit about our panelists. We have Shai Halevi, who is with the Algorand Foundation research team, giving a wave. We have Jason Lee, our COO. Massimo Morini, who is our chief economist, who we met before on the previous governance call, along with Shai as well. So I welcome all of you today. Okay, we're actually going to kick this off. So Massimo, I'm going to let you, if you could share your screen, that'd be great.
Thank you very much, Joanna. I've got just a few slides in order, to remind what are the main points that we have already communicated and announced. And there are some new things actually. The most important piece of news is certainly that on June 30, we plan for June 30 to have a network-wide referendum that is going to be the starting point of our governance new world and new. The referendum is going to take the form of a consensus upgrade, so it's going to be run by node runners, existing node runners or new node runners that will be set up by the time of the referendum. But I want to stress that then becoming a governor and voting in the future will not require running a node. Simply for the referendum, we have devised a way of doing it that not only is the one typical of blockchains for big and important reforms and changes, but it's also one that immediately involves players that already have shown their commitment. Then, for the commitment of the players will be shown by committing Algos, the way we have explained in our documents, but the governance experience will not require running a node, but will be very user-friendly. That's what we are committed to. So let us remind a few fundamental points. There will be 5 days at the beginning of every governance period for Algo holders in their Algos and see how many votes they want to have in governance. Every governance period will last 3 months. Votes will all be in the first part of the commitment because we want every governor to put his own skin in the game and remain committed also to live together with the community the consequences of his votes. And in fact, the rewards will be actually received only at the end of the period and only if a governor has maintained his initial balance and if a governor has actually participated to all the votes in the period. And then in the more recent document that we share with the community that reports where we have advanced in our design thinking analysis of the best way to build this totally new form of governance, there are some additional details that we have shared. The fact that the execution will happen 3 weeks after the vote, and we will monitor if the voters have actually remained and if the majority is still valid before actually going to execution. That's a measure to make sure that all those who vote actually remain committed with their own decision. And we're going to introduce, particularly for participants that may have any difficulties into voting in every vote, the possibility to vote with obviously a form of action. And then there will be precise requirement in terms of commitment or transparency for any other ecosystem player or simply algo holder that wants also to become a delegate. And we are also planning and designing how to allow the community to completely new issues, maybe not in the issues that the foundation was expecting to deal with and for which the votes have been organized. And this will be possible for committed minorities. You know that we'll have to commit in an additional way to become able to make a proposal. We also announced the amount of rewards that is going to be devoted to the governors. It's going to be essentially 60 million algos for these 3 months in 2021, starting on October 1. And this basically means that the amount of rewards that the algo holders were already will actually be doubled for those that also decide to participate into governance. Obviously, we say doubled in terms of total resources, but considering that participation rewards go to all algo holders, while governance rewards will go only to those that decide to commit their algos, actually the amount of reward, the APY that will be earned by governors will likely to be more than double the level of the participation rewards, you know, based on some very conservative estimates, in the sense that expecting a very large participation to governance, it should be around 10 or 11%. Then it's clear that if we don't manage immediately to get a very large participation, the governors that will participate will have higher reward rates, you know. And then, in any case, that could be also stimulus for everyone in the community to participate. The level of rewards for the future will be one of the things that the governors will decide, you know. And in order to keep the economic stability and equilibrium that we care so much for our community, we are thinking to always keep in a lockstep increases in rewards with increases in commitment, you know, so that the governors will be able to increase their rewards for themselves, in a sense, but this will always be associated with some additional elements of commitment, exactly in order to balance the different aspects which are important in governance. Let me remind a couple of things. One thing is certainly that the foundation is not, by delegating the governance, saying that we will stop to commit for our ecosystem. We will always be committed. In a sense, we'll be more committed than before, since we have to create the opportunities and the possibilities for the governors to decide from. And also, let me remind that the referendum is not really for us, you know, something that we are not looking at with attention. We actually would like every node runners to participate and to vote yes, and we are also welcoming those who are not runners to become node runners to participate. And let me remind once again that in any case, the node running requirement requirement is only for the referendum and for this fundamental passage in our protocol, but not for the future voting experience. I think these are the most important things that I can say in a general recap of the governance so far. Let's not forget that once the governance is set up, then also the evolution of the governance will be done together with the governor. Thank you. I can pass again control to Ron.
Thanks, Massimo. Shai, I'm going to invite you up onto the stage. Shai will be talking about the Governance Referendum and the Relay Node Program.
Yes, thank you, Joanna. So hello there, my name is Shai. I'm from the research team of
Shai, are you there?
Yes, can you not hear me?
I can hear you, Shai.
Okay.
We can hear you, Shai.
Yep.
From the research team of the Algorand Foundation. So let me just start by saying that today we're discussing several different things, and I will talk about the referendum for the governance, and then I will talk about the Node Runners, Relay Node Runners pilot program. These are two completely separate programs. They just happen to be included both in the session today. Let's start with the referendum and stress again the thing that Massimo said. The referendum is a one-off event, requires you to run an Algorand participation node in order to vote in it, and it's used to approve our governance program. Once that is approved, the governance program itself does not require running any nodes. It is a completely separate program, and we will put all the necessary support for governors to participate in the governance program after the referendum has passed. Going back to the referendum itself, the Algorand network already has in it a voting mechanism. This is the nodes that run the consensus keep voting about whether or not to upgrade the consensus version. And in fact, every time we introduce new features into our blockchain, this network-wide voting happens. So we are going to be using the same mechanism also for approving the referendum. We will be releasing a software upgrade for node runners to run, and node runners that will use this upgraded software will vote for the referendums. Node runners that will keep using the old software will vote against the referendum. We will release this software upgrade on June 30th, and then the referendum will have about 2 weeks where nodes can either adopt it or not. And if it gets adopted by the network by more or less July 14, then the referendum will pass, and otherwise it will not. And this is the mechanism that we will use for voting on the governance program. So if you want to participate, you need to have a node, an Algorand node that participates in the consensus. You need to set your account to online and participate in the consensus, and you need to install the newer version if you want to vote for the governance program. Running an Algorand node is not particularly hard. I plan on running my own node on a Raspberry Pi that I recently bought, and there are instructions on our webpage of how to do that. And I will add my own experience, how to set up my node so that everybody can see what I did. But in general, it's not very hard. So this is about the referendum. Let me now switch gear and talk about the relay node running program, which is a separate program. For that, I have a very short presentation that I will show you. Let me share my screen. There we go. So I'll talk about the pilot relay node runner. And the thing to know about the Algorand network, we are using an overlay communication network where there are the Algorand nodes that run consensus, that you can query about the blocks of the network, etc. But the way all of these nodes communicate with each other is via relays. Nodes do not directly send and receive messages to each other. All the communication goes through these relays. And this pilot program is about running those relays. The relays make the communication backbone of the Algorand network, and as such, they are critical for the performance and reliability of that network. We currently have many relays in place, and you can tell that we have a very, very robust communication network by the fact that in the 2 years that have passed since we launched, we had a block every 4 to 5 seconds, almost without a hitch. I think the longest that we ever had any block is like 20 seconds, but that never happened almost. The current setup of our relay nodes will continue through about 2 or 3 more years. So we need to start getting ready to replace it when the current agreements that we have to run out. And this is the goal of the relay node pilot program that we announced. What we need is nodes of different geographies, different setups, maybe on premises, some in this cloud, some on the other cloud, different sets of hardware and software. It's very important to avoid monoculture vulnerabilities, because if there is a bug in one particular hardware or software system, we do not want it to have a huge effect on our network. So the Node Runner program, we solicit proposals for running relay nodes on our network. In addition to actually running the relay nodes, another thing that this pilot program is meant for is for us to experiment with methods and tools to evaluate the relay performance. And the reason is simple. Running a relay node, this is a crucial part of our infrastructure, and it could be somewhat expensive. And the foundation wants to pay for it, but we want to pay based on how good a job they're doing. So we want to have a way of, many ways maybe, of measuring how good a job a relay node is doing. Moreover, in the future, we would most likely integrate paying the relay nodes into the protocol itself. So at that time, we definitely need a way to establish whether a relay node does a good job or not, because we want to have an automatic mechanism in the network to pay them. So these are the goals of the relay node pilot program. We announced that we will solicit proposals for running it, and we would like, even though it's not required, proposals to also say something in the proposal about how they're going to monitor the performance of their relay nodes. So that's it for my introduction.
Thanks, Shai. Jason, can I invite you up to the stage to share the timeline, please?
Yep, no problem at all. I'd like to say welcome, everyone. Good to see a really diverse group all the way from Italy to India, those in Seattle, Boston, New York City. Good evening here from Melbourne, Australia. If you haven't shared where you are in this part of the world, where you're from, just type it down as well, where you are. Always great to see a community from all parts of the world. I see Ireland, United Arab Emirates. It's great. And the best thing about, obviously, being part of a distributed environment is that everyone is able to participate in the programs that we're speaking about. And thank you to my very esteemed counterparts, our Chief Economist, Massimo, first off, and our Research Fellow, Shai. With regards to the timeline, I think the most exciting thing really is the governance program. As you all know, we had the initial proposal came up late last year by Professor Sylvia McKelly and Jing Chen together with the team. And over the course of the last few months, we spent hours, if not hundreds of hours, ensuring that we roll out a governance program that is really committed to the ecosystem and the community. So our proposal launched in April 12th. And we are now set to go for a network-wide referendum. So as mentioned by both of Massimo and Shai, the voting would happen with the running only of the participation nodes, and that's completely separate again to being a governor. This is specific to the referendum. And this will happen at the consensus upgrade voting mechanism that is scheduled to happen on the 30th of June. And then this would then lead towards the exact time of participating for a vote for the referendum itself, which would happen and when a version is accepted by the network or before round 15 million. So this is going to happen in the middle of July and 14 July, and essentially governance period would commence on October 1st. And that means that we would all be able to participate to commit as a governor, and in essence also participate in the governance reward starting in Q4. So that's the timeline for the governance program. For the pilot relay node program, we have the program launch on the 9th of June. It's available on our website, so you should be able to look into the submission details. Now, essentially, the applications are open until the 12th of July. I believe we had quite a number of inquiries from different parts of the world to participate in the program, and we're really excited to receive them. Announcement will be made on the 31st of August, and there will be a small number of proposals which would be accepted, and the start of the relay deployment would be on 1st October 2021. I just wanted to note that these two programs mark a very important history in the milestone of not just Algorand Foundation, but Algorand, a network as an ecosystem and as part of who we are in this borderless economy. And all of you right now tuning in represent a very important part of this history as well. So I just can't thank you more enough from all across the world. I think I see the chats going on and on, including people from Portugal as well, and many in the US, Indonesia, Belgium, London, Netherlands. We're so glad to have you on board. Put a thumbs up, put a sign of approval, and of course we're open to all forms of questions. I see the questions pouring in as well. I'll leave it to our able host, Johanna, to take over, and Ronan, thank you for so ably answering some of the questions as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Just apologies, guys, my camera is off. I'm having a little technical difficulty with my camera today, but thankfully I can hear all of you, which is great. So now we're going to start to answer a couple of questions that you had. I think this has been answered, but I just think it's so important to reiterate the first question. So it's can everyone participate in the governance referendum? I'm going to put that question to you.
Sure. So the short answer is yes. Everybody can participate, but you do need to have an online account and run a consensus participation node. There are instructions of how to run participation nodes on our website, on the Algorand developer portal. There are several third parties that can run participation nodes for you, for a fee, of course. And again, we said it already before, but it's important to stress it again. This is a one-off thing. For the referendum, you need to run participation node. For the governance program afterwards, you do not.
And so this is also a very important question. Do I need to set up a node in order to participate in governance?
Yeah, so the answer is no, you do not need to run a node to participate in governance, only for the initial referendum.
Perfect. Let me see. Jason, a question for you. Just curious about the timeline and what is needed from my end to be considered as a governor. I believe I read there is a 3-month staking requirement, and it will happen sometime in October.
That's right. So the governance period commences on 1st October, but from September onwards, we will be communicating the how to be a governor process, and this is when all of you can also start to think about when and how much you'd like to commit as part of being a governor itself. So 1st October is a hard start, and you will need to be committing your tokens into an Algorand wallet altogether.
Perfect.
That's it.
Thanks, Jason. So going back to the referendum, how do I find the details about the consensus version upgrade? And why is the consensus upgrade important for governance? And there's a third part to this. What is the advantage of setting the block size to 140K? Shai, that's to you.
Right, so the block size is just an engineering parameter. It was set to get high performance. It has nothing to do with the upgrade or the governance or the referendum. It's just a technical detail of the blockchain, so let's discount that. The importance of the upgrade for governance, it's not that the governance needs any new software features. We are just using this mechanism of a consensus upgrade because it is a voting mechanism. We're using it also as the mechanism for a referendum. The software will be available on the Algorand developer portal. We will have many links to where to get it also off of various places in the Algorand Foundation website. If you run a Algorand participation node, you will know where to get this upgrade, and then you will just need to take this software upgrade and install it on the node that you run if you plan on voting yes.
Perfect. Massimo, a question for you. Is the referendum just pro forma as it was said in Discord?
No, the referendum is not, because every node runner will have the right to make its choice. As I said at the beginning, we chose the form of a consensus upgrade because that's the way by which blockchain is an important reform to the protocol. So we wanted to stress this. And also, obviously, we wanted the decision to be taken by participants that have already shown their commitment by running a node, or even better, participants that decide to set up a node in order to participate. Then, if the decision is taken by node runner to actually start with this new reality of decentralized governance, then the governance participation, as I was saying, will require staking Algo, non-node running requirement. And we are actually working to make the governance participation as user-friendly as possible. But this will happen if the referendum passes.
Perfect. And I know a lot of people are asking, what if the referendum is rejected?
Oh, well, if the referendum is rejected, for sure we will supply a different upgraded software that will provide the new features, but will not carry the meaning of a yes vote of the referendum. Like in every referendum, it's just a yes or no, that's what a referendum is. So a yes will open up to a new way to make decisions, including changing, to make it better in the future. If the answer is no, it will leave things as they stand. Obviously, the foundation is not going to abandon our commitment to decentralized governance and everyone participating in decisions regarding the community funds. In any case, if there is a no, obviously the process will have to be rethought and reviewed.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Massimo. Massimo, you're still on the stage. I have another question for you. So when we have a certain amount of algos committed for governance in a wallet address, is the only rule that the wallet address never reaches a level below that committed?
Well, no, there are essentially two fundamental rules. One is certainly, yes, maintaining your initial balance. And the other one is voting. So not participating to a vote is one reason to be not to be receiving rewards at the end of the period. And also, let's remember that there will be a so-called cooling period before execution, and if you want your vote to still be valid at the moment in which we will recount the vote and actually perform the execution, you need to remain committed. But the majority disappears immediately after a vote. The foundation may decide not to implement the vote. What's the reason for that? Obviously, protecting our security from any attacks.
Perfect. Thanks, Massimo. Jason, it's good that you have the slides still up there. A couple of questions around timeline again, and I guess it's just to reiterate. So when is the referendum? And also there's two parts to it. So do you have a clear start date for the new governance program, delivery date and participation requirements?
Yeah, so great questions. When is the referendum? It will happen, as mentioned, if the upgraded version is accepted by the network or before around 15 million, which would happen on the 14th of July. But what would happen is that there will be a couple of days that we would be informing the community to be ready for the referendum. And there will be some time as well for everyone to have a yes/no vote for the referendum altogether. So there will be ample time provided in advance before the actual vote. That would expected to be on July 14 itself for the referendum altogether. With regards to when the hard start date is for the governance program, it is going to commence on the 1st October. I think that is a very clear sign in terms of the commitment for the quarterly period or for the 90 days. And then in terms of the voting itself, that would be likely to be in the area of the period of October itself. And that's when everyone can participate as a governor with the voting. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Shai, the question for you. Are algo that have not been designated as a yes vote automatically counted as a no vote for this particular vote?
Right. So as it pertains to the referendum, every node runner, every participating node that has an online account and run a participating node is counted as a voter. If it installs the upgrade, it is counted as a yes vote. If it does not install, it counted as a no vote. There is nothing particular that you need to do in order to vote no. If you're running a participating node and you do not install the update, you are counted as a no vote. If you're running a participating node and you are installing the upgrade, you are counting as a yes vote. If you're not running a participation node, you're not counted at all.
Brilliant, Shai, thank you. And everyone in the audience, thank you for asking all the questions. I see Ronan's been busy answering them. Please do, if anything springs to mind throughout the session, please submit the question and we will answer them and include them in our FAQs. So the next question is for Massimo. It's a governance question. Let's say you stake 10,000 algos and you move 1,000 algos out of the wallet, but the other 9,000 are still staked. Did you get paid on the 9,000 or do you lose your entire staking rewards?
Oh, you lose your entire staking rewards. You know? We have decided, and then we will see, I mean, how the governance will evolve, actually to require from governors a commitment of algos that involves the fact that if you lower your balance under your pillar, you will lose your entire rewards. Same if you miss a vote.
Okay, thank you, Massimo. A question for Shai. How will voting take place using the Algorand wallet's UI?
So we will release documentation, including screen captures and everything about how to actually do all the actions that you need to do as a governor. It's not just voting, it's also you need to sign up, you need to commit to a number of algos in your account, then you need to vote on proposals that we will put out, and then you need to claim the reward. So there are a couple of actions that you need to do as governor, and we will provide the detailed documentations for how to do them. The UI might differ depending on what is it that you use as a wallet. Different people using different wallets. To some extent, the UI will depend on which wallet you're using. But again, we will release documentations for all of it. It's very important for us to make this experience as easy as possible. We are working with many partners to make sure that all the systems that need to be there will be there and that will be seamlessly integrated. All of that will be documented well ahead of the October 1st launch date, but we are still in the early stages of building the system. So currently we still do not have that. Probably in 2 to 3 months, you will see lots of documentation coming for that.
Perfect. Thank you, Shai. There's a last question on governance. Are there any incentives to run a relay node or a node in general? And Massimo, that's for you.
Well, the reason why we started with this pilot program is exactly to receive from our community proposal on which kind of incentives our community would like to receive for running a relay node. So we are totally open to see what our supporters are actually proposing to run very high quality relay node, and we are going to evaluate obviously the total level of commitment of a proposal, and obviously the incentive they are seeking, and we will make a decision globally considering this.
Perfect. Thanks, Massimo. So now on to the pilot program for the Algorand community relay node. So Massimo, again, you're up. Is there an Algo staking requirement to participate in running the relay node?
Oh, let me go back essentially to my previous answer. In principle, not, but we are totally open to see what our supporters in the proposal suggest in order to show their total commitment to this service to the community.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Massimo. Shai, a question for you. Fast connection with low latency, at least 1 gigabyte per second both ways. Does it mean the upward flow and downward flow each need at least 1 gigabyte per second?
Yeah, that's correct. We need both up and down speeds to be very high. Let me reiterate what I said in the opening slides. The relay nodes are a critical infrastructure component of the Algorand network. They need to be very, very performant. That means 2 things. They need to be fast, and they need to support very high volume of communication. So for fast, this is we expect that they need at least a 1 gigabit per second connections, both up and down. They also need to support a lot of volume. In the specs that we released with the announcement, we said that they need to at least support 5 terabyte communication per month of volume.
Okay, perfect. Shai, again, this is a question for you. To meet the standard of fast connection, the internet connection alone will cost around $16,000 per year in China. Let alone the other costs. Is there an estimated number of compensation for node owners?
So that's an excellent question, and let me spend some time talking about it. So in the call, we said that the proposals themselves should tell us how much they want to get paid for running this service. This pilot program, even though from our point of view, it's for learning about relay node runners and learning about how to evaluate them and how to compensate them, at its heart, it's us buying service. We need parties to give us the service of running the communication infrastructure of Algorand, and we will pay for it. You tell us how much you think you should be paid for it. That being said, price, of course, will not be the only criteria that we will use when choosing the parties that will participate in this pilot program. We need to be diverse in terms of geography. We need to be diverse in terms of setup. We will choose the ones that we believe will give us the best value for making Algorand a truly decentralized and geographically distributed network that can withstand very high workloads over a long period of time.
Brilliant, thank you. This question I like a lot, and it's a question for you, Shai. Does the relay node involve mining? Why is there a hardware requirement for node runners?
So no mining. Algorand is a pure proof of stake blockchain. It involves no mining. It is environmentally friendly. There is no wasted energy on solving mindless riddles. That's the first thing. We need hardware requirements. As I said, it's a critical component in our infrastructure. It's routing all the messages that Algorand nodes send to each other. We need it to be performant. This is why we put hardware requirements. Let me go, it's just a little bit more details into the structure of the Algorand network. So Algorand network has two types of nodes. There are relay nodes, and then there are the non-relay nodes. The relay nodes are purely an infrastructure component. Their job is to keep the network running. Non-relay nodes are the ones that do the work. They are the ones that run your smart contracts. They are the ones that commit transactions into blocks. They are the one running the consensus protocol. They are the one that actually do the work. They rely on the relay nodes to carry their communication. And all the communication in Algorand is done only via relay nodes. Algorand nodes do not talk directly to each other. If an Algorand node wants to send a message, it would convey it to one of the relay. The relays will distribute it among themselves and send it to all the other nodes. Again, stress it again, the relay nodes are an infrastructure component, a crucial one, and they need to be very performant.
Perfect, thank you, Shai. Can anyone can any individual be able to take part in the relay node program?
Anybody can submit a proposal. We will choose the proposals that we believe serve the network best, but anybody can submit a proposal.
Brilliant. So Shai, you mentioned that there's a plan to develop monitoring tools for the relay nodes. Would it be done by Algorand itself or in the form of grants?
Right. So as I said in my opening remarks, the part of the goal of this program is to help us develop methods and tools for monitoring the relay node performance. It is not a requirement that proposals will tell us what they're going to do to measure things. There is a minimum requirement which is documented for a particular a collection of data that we can use for that purpose. We would very much appreciate proposals to go beyond that minimum requirement, but that's not going beyond that minimum thing that really needs to do is not a requirement for the program. The Algorand Foundation it's very important for us to be able to measure performance. So in addition to this pilot program where we highly encourage the participants to discuss that issue, we will also be very open to just grant proposal via our grant program that research or develop tools for measuring performance of relays. If you want to submit that, by all means, go ahead and submit it to our grant program.
Thank you, Shai. I like this question. So I'm a retail investor and a true believer in Algorand. I'd love to be involved. I plan on purchasing a dedicated computer only for Algorand and plan on upgrading my internet. A detailed description of the process and any tech support availability would be great. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Shai?
So on our developer portal, which is developer.algorand.org, there is a documentation of how to set up nodes. They can be a Linux node, they can be Windows nodes. There are documentations for all of those. You can go there and see what you need to do. That being said, that documentation just covers both relays and participation node. If you want to participate in the Algorand network as a whole, maybe a participation node is also appropriate. This participation, in order to participate, because we're a proof of stake network, you will need to have algos, mark your account online. This is exactly the same process, by the way, that you need for the governance referendum. So that's another option of participating in the Algorand network.
Perfect. Thank you, Shai. There's kind of this question for maybe a new person, a new programmer. So I know almost nothing about computer programming. Will we have a Windows tool for the node installation?
So We do not supply tools. There is documentation of how to do that. There are software packages that you can install, and all of that is documented. There are third parties that can have an easier to deploy tools. Every so often I hear presentations from third parties that provide a one-click deployment of nodes. You can find those third parties and use their system for easier access. If you want to install it yourself, we provide documentation. We will provide the software packages themselves.
Thank you. And Shai, you're off the hook for about 2 minutes. Massimo, this is a question for you. Will there be a mandatory minimum hardware specs in the future or minimum algo mounts to run a governance or relay node?
Well, in terms of technology, that the question is for Shai. In terms of the economy of running a node, it's clear that we are going to value also economic commitment of those who run the relay node. But really, this time we want to see what are the ideas and what are the proposals from our community. We really want to have a diverse community of relay node runners. We will ensure there will be, in the end, in the long term, consistency in the way the relay node are treated. But for the pilot program, we really want to see the community making proposals, also in terms of potential economic commitment.
Thanks, Massimo. Will proposals with consumer-grade internet connections, i.e. fiber 1 GB per second, be considered?
So we will consider all proposals, but we will select only a small number of them, and these will be the ones that we believe will offer the best connectivity service for the Algorand network as a whole. Now, I'm not an expert on various different internet settings. I believe it might be a challenge to rely on consumer-grade connectivity to provide reliable overlay network services for Algorand. As I said, it's not just the speed, it's also the volume. You need to support many terabytes per month of data going through a relay. But we will read and evaluate all the proposals that we're going to get.
Perfect. And this is actually our final question. And Shai, it's for you. As a hobbyist, how safe is it for me to run a node utilizing my home internet connection? Does it put me at an increased risk?
So, no risk in terms of actually running the software. Our software was audited, and etc. There is another aspect that I would think about it as risk, and that's whether running a relay node at home will violate the term of agreements that you have with your internet provider. As I said, running a relay node requires that you pass a very very high volume of data through your node, maybe 5 terabytes of outgoing traffic per month. I don't know how that relates to the term of service that consumers usually sign with their internet providers, but this is one risk that you might be facing.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's all the questions from the questions submitted by you, the community. Ronan, are there any questions that you would like to kind of highlight that the audience has asked today?
Yeah, there's a couple. One from Zach, sorry. Is there a minimum geographic distribution of nodes that must be maintained in order to ensure continued decentralized governance? I think that might be too shy.
Yeah, maybe I'll take it. Well, the short answer is yes. We need at least one relay node in any continent, probably more, right? So we will definitely make sure that the Algorand network has a geographically diverse set of relay nodes. This is one of the goals also of the current setup that we have, one of the goals of the pilot program that we just announced, and we will keep maintaining that geographic diversity.
Yeah, and Ryan, a separate question, sort of, I think you've just answered that, touched on that as well. I have a question from Steve in terms of the pilot relay node program as well. Do we have an idea of the amount of proposal submissions we estimate to accept or will offer?
For this program, we will only accept a small number of proposals in the single digits. Again, this is a pilot program. We do think that we will extend it in the future, but right now the goal is to find just a small number of them that we want to continue with.
Cool. I'm going to mix it up. I think this one's for you, Massimo. Where will the compensation for the relay pilot program come from? Will this affect token supply in the current distribution model?
You are muted, Massimo.
Oh, yes. Can you please repeat this, because I cannot find it in the list.
Sorry, it was from Edward. Where will the compensation for the relay pilot program come from? Will this affect token supply in the current distribution model?
Oh, that's an interesting point. We don't expect it to have a significant impact. You know, the initial relay node program had a completely different story based on involving essentially partners that existed even before inception. We are not expecting to have that kind of impact for the program. About where the rewards are gonna come from, we actually have funds that in our long-term algodynamics are earmarked for rewards, and we also have resources that are earmarked for contingency. That's are basically the two areas where we expect the funds to come from. But I don't expect any inflationary impact by this.
Perfect.
I'd say
Abel,
probably, Ronan, I'd say probably time for maybe one or two questions. And I just want to remind everyone, if there aren't any questions that we've answered here today, we will take them and we will place them in the FAQs that you'll find on the foundation website.
Yeah. Two then. Abel has asked, will centralized wallets, DEXs, and other types of custodians be able to act as governors in the governance program?
So from a technical point of view, anybody that has Algorand address with algos in it can serve as governors. For exchanges, we are talking to them about the proper way of doing it, because oftentimes exchanges keep algos on behalf of their clients. So we are talking to them about responsible ways of using it. Technically, it is possible for them to do so.
Cool. And sorry, Shai, this is for you as well. It's one last question, and it's just a general minimum infrastructure cost to run a relay node. Do we have an idea?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, that depends very much where you run it. My guess is that we heard a quote of, I think it was $16,000 per year for bandwidth alone if you run it in China. I would imagine that things of that order of magnitude, times 4 divided by 4 or something like that. But I'm assuming that this is something that sort of represents the cost that you should expect. Maybe tens of thousands of dollars per year, perhaps.
Okay. Just one little thing, sorry, Joanna, before you wrap up. This is recorded. It'll be sent automatically to everybody straight after the webinar. And there was a question in there I answered. It will be featured on both our website and our YouTube channel as well. It's late enough on Friday in Ireland, so I'll endeavour to ensure it's up today, but it could be over the weekend. But you'll definitely receive a recording directly from Livestorm, our partner, straight after the event.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ronan.
Thank you.
So I guess we just do a little wrap up. First off, I want to thank the audience and the community, because really without you, we wouldn't exist. And it's so important, that we keep on providing information that's really relevant to what's going on with the Algorand Foundation, keeping you up to date, hoping that, you can feel that you can participate with everything that we do. And so a really heartfelt thank you for participating today. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank Jason, our COO, and Massimo Rini, our Chief chief economist, and Shai Halevi from the Algorand Foundation research team, or he's our research fellow. And most importantly, I need to thank Ronan, because this doesn't happen without Ronan's support. So thank you so much.
And thank you to you, Joe, for moderating.
No worries at all. I'm delighted to. And just actually to want to reiterate Jason's point, it's really so lovely to see a really diverse audience that's participating. Also, like, we are truly blown away when we see all the different places popping up, and we love to see it, and it gives us a bump. So it's lovely, and thank you. So Ronan will be sharing it, as he said, either this evening or over the weekend. And yeah, I just want to wish you all a lovely, warm and happy weekend. And we will be seeing you hopefully soon, and we'll be providing updates on the website. Ronan, you have something to say?
Sorry, I do. Sorry. Thanks for everybody joining today. And we actually have another community all hands coming up very shortly, being next Tuesday, the 22nd. And that's just in relation to Joanna referenced our Gitcoin Trailblazer Bounty Program.
So we're really excited about our 2 million Trailblazer bounty launch that we did 2 days ago, and this is being powered by Gitcoin. This is where our bounties, you can participate with Algorand bounties, and we're delighted to invite the founder of Gitcoin, Kevin Owaki. So he'll be talking a little bit about, obviously about our bounties on Gitcoin and how we'll be participating on Gitcoin, but also with grants that's coming up in the coming months also, which we're excited about. And he'll be speaking a little bit about the Gitcoin token. So it'll be an interesting talk. Great. Okay, listen, guys, thank you so much for today, and we will see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Bye-bye.